I started hearing whispers about Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all the Easter eggs, references, and little things that you might have missed in the very first trailer for Ahsoka. Now, there are a lot of Easter eggs in this trailer that might confuse you if you didn't see the show Star Wars Rebels. And there are some major teases about where the Mandalorian storyline is headed. At Star Wars Celebration, we found out that Dave Filoni is directing a feature film that will culminate the story of the Disney Plus shows. And this teaser basically tells us who is the big bad behind the scenes. All right, so are we ready to do this?
Oh, okay, I'm ready.
Hey, have we met?
Oh, hi there, my name is Scoots. I'm a regional manager, supervising all use before the end of the world. Just go on like I'm not even here.
Wait, the world's gonna end?
The end is nigh.
Anyways, so we start with the remnants of some ancient structures or a temple. Now I have a few theories on this. One, this could simply be an old Jedi temple that the Empire has destroyed.
But that doesn't look like the Jedi Temple on Coruscant.
Well, there were a few different kinds of Jedi temples. The one on Coruscant was at the galaxy center, so it was large and regal. The original temple on Acho-To was the very first temple, so it's all stone huts. But in the show Rebels, we frequently go to a Jedi temple on Lothal that was buried underground. This temple also contained an important mural that I'm going to talk about later. And that mural contains similar circles and lines that we see in these columns, and also that we see underground. These circles are also similar to the insignia of the Chiss.
Oh, what's a Chiss?
So the Chiss are this race of blue-skinned, red-eyed aliens that live in the unknown regions of the galaxy. This is an area of space that is very, very, very hard to get to. Remember, Rey needed a special star path to get there in Rise of Skywalker. The Chiss have a massive armada, but they mostly keep to themselves, except for one very important Chiss that I'm going to talk about later on. Ahsoka appears from the mist like frickin' Yojimbo. Very similar to how showrunner Dave Filoni paid homage to this classic Kurosawa shot in the Mandalorian Season 2 episode, The Jedi. She narrates,
Something's coming. Something dark.
Now, all through The Mandalorian, we've been talking about how the show seems to be showing us the rise of the First Order and how this happened.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
But here's the thing, the First Order supposedly came from the unknown regions of the galaxy. So, in order for them to rise up and for Palpatine to be able to build his massive Sith fleet, then there needs to be a power vacuum in that region of space. And that leads us to THRAWN.
Oh, what's a THRAWN?
Hey, I've been meaning to ask, what the hell are you?
Why me? I am a Doomling from planet Indaris. I have come to Earth to find the perfect combination of traits to help my species survive the never-ending onslaught of catastrophes that have befallen my world. You know, the usual.
Oh, you're a Doomling.
A what?
Dude, he's from the card game Doomlings. They're the sponsor of this video. We just played the game last night.
Oh yeah, is it fun?
Oh yeah, it's great. Takes about 5 minutes to learn, about a half hour to play, great for adults and kids. It's a little bit like Exploding Kittens, but a bit more advanced. And the character cards are like Pokemon, but it's as easy to set up as Uno. Imagine Monopoly, but it won't break up your whole family. It is also infinitely replayable with over 150 cards in the deck, so no two games are ever the same. It's a lot of fun.
That's right, and now we're expanding with an Overlush expansion.
Ah, very cool. So Overlush is a mystery expansion where you can get mystery cards and 4 guaranteed holo foils.
What's a holo foil?
Basically special cards that are worth a lot of points and give you really good traits. Like this one's called Echolocation. It's great. Allows me to draw 1 extra card every turn. It's actually how I won the game last night. And hey, can I borrow you real quick?
Oh yeah, sure thing. Oop!
And this is a new Doomling plushie.
I'm gonna want to chew on that plushie some fierce.
Right? They're very soft, very velvety, and have a memory feeling, so they always bounce back. Here you go, buddy.
Well, how do I get all this?
Well, Doomlings is a game that is being crowdfunded on Kickstarter, so if you like the game, you can support it by donating any dollar amount, and in return, you can get a huge discount and exclusive cards. I recommend the Doomlings Essential tier. You get the base game, the Overlush expansion pack, 1 plushie of your choice, and more. This Kickstarter campaign is the only time you'll be able to get the entire Overlush collection in one go. The Kickstarter link is in the description below, and we appreciate anything you can give to this game. The campaign ends on April 13th, so click the link below or scan the QR code to pledge now. Now back to what I was saying.
Wait, I'm still confused. Who are these people?
Alright, well let me give everybody a little background on who AhsokaTtano is and her history. If you've never seen the animated shows, then maybe you just know her as Rosario Dawson's character from The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. And if you have seen the animated shows, I hope this is a fun recap for you. So Ahsoka is from a species called a Togruta, known for their head tails and these face birthmarks. She was born in a small village, and when she was a baby, a space tiger nearly ate her until she connected to it in the Force, and then her villagers knew that she was special.
Ahsoka is Jedi.
Afterwards, she was recruited into the Jedi Order by a Jedi Master named Plo Koon, who dies right here. She grew up as a stubborn youngling who skirted the rules, so Yoda thought it would be a great idea to make her a Padawan to another stubborn Jedi who skirted the rules, Anakin Skywalker.
No.
Yoda hoped that giving Anakin the responsibility of a Padawan would make him mature as well.
Yeah, giving an irresponsible soldier a teenager to watch over in a war zone just for like a teaching moment, that's messed up, man.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Now, at first, the two of them butted heads.
You must get back to the Jedi Temple immediately. There's an emergency.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but we're in a bit of an emergency right here.
But eventually, they grew fond of one another, even developing cute little nicknames.
You're stuck with me, Sky Guy.
Now, I will say that Ahsoka was kind of annoying in the Clone Wars movie and in the early seasons of that show, but as she matured, she grew into the backdoor protagonist of this series. Now, I'm not going to detail like every single adventure that she had during the Clone Wars, but I am going to talk about some of the more formative stories that also created a contrast between her choices and those of her master, Anakin Skywalker. Ahsoka's early days of the Clone Wars saw her mostly fighting alongside Anakin, but then also supervising younglings. She once taught an ethics class on Mandalore.
Wait, are you making that up?
Nope, that was a real episode, and it was great.
Maybe they chased you because you broke into a government warehouse.
Wow, okay, yeah, all right. Clone Wars.
Clone Wars, high five. And then there was a spectacular arc where she helped younglings build their lightsabers, and then they were captured by space pirates. Ahsoka's story was meant to be a mirror to Anakin's experience in the Clone Wars. In Attack of the Clones, Anakin questions the Jedi Code's rule of attachments.
Attachment is forbidden. Possession is forbidden. So you might say that we are encouraged to love.
While Ahsoka also questions the code in regards to attachments to others.
Can't we do anything?
No.
Anakin also fell in love with Padme, and they were secretly married, while Ahsoka formed a deep friendship and a secret crush with the son of a separatist senator named Lux Bonteri. She even trained him and several other guerrillas on how to fight against the droid army. Now then she became jealous of Lux and his attraction to this woman, Steela. And Steela, by the way, was the sister of Saw Gerrera, and her death radicalized Saw into the soldier that we see in later years. But unlike Anakin, Ahsoka never acted on her attraction to someone else. And for a teenager, that's really saying something. I would have been out of the Jedi Order in like a week. However, Ahsoka did form a strong attachment to a clone trooper named Rex, and more on him in just a bit. I've always thought that Ahsoka's most fascinating relationship, though, is with her fellow Padawan, Barriss Offee, who has a cameo in Attack of the Clones right here. Offee was as rigid as Ahsoka was loose, always following the Jedi Code to the letter. But there was one point in the Clone Wars where Ahsoka actually died.
Oh no!
Hold on there, buddy. She didn't stay dead. So here's what happened. She, Anakin, and Obi-Wan were on this planet called Mortis. This was home to 3 Force beings of incredible power: the daughter, the brother, and the father. They represented the good side of the Force, the bad side of the Force, and the balance between the two. The brother kills Ahsoka, Ahsoka dead. But then the daughter moves her life force into Ahsoka's body, sacrificing her own life, kind of similar to Kylo Ren and Rey at the end of Rise of Skywalker. Now afterward, Ahsoka has the life force of the daughter inside of her, which gives her like this deeper connection to the Force. The daughter also had a kind of spirit animal, a space owl called Morai, and now Morai has this same connection to Ahsoka. Soon after this, the Jedi Temple is bombed, killing several Jedi, Padawans, and clone troopers. Ahsoka is framed for the bombing, and the Jedi Council does not even give her the benefit of the doubt. So Ahsoka goes on the run to prove her innocence. But then it turns out that she was actually framed by her friend, Barriss Offee.
It is the Council's opinion that Padawan AhsokaTtano has committed sedition against the Republic.
Barriss did this after the death of her master because she could sense that the Jedi Order had lost their way.
And my attack on the temple was an attack on what the Jedi have become, an army fighting for the dark side.
So now Ahsoka is also disillusioned with the Jedi Order because they accused her of being a murderer. So she leaves the Order behind, but on her way out, she basically tells Anakin that she knew about him and Padme.
I understand wanting to walk away from the Order.
I know.
What?
So when we watch Revenge of the Sith, Anakin is all resentful toward the Jedi Council.
What kind of nonsense is this? Put me on the council and not make me a master?
This is part of the reason why they drove his Padawan from the Jedi Order. After this, Ahsoka's kind of listless. She rides around on a motorcycle, meets up with a couple wannabe smugglers called the Martez sisters, but then she ends up right back in the mess. So around this time, the planet Mandalore was conquered by Darth Maul, sparking a civil war. Opposing him was Bo-Katan, who asked Ahsoka for her help retaking Mandalore. Ahsoka convinces Anakin and the Jedi Council to lend her a portion of the 501st Stormtrooper Regiment, which included her old pal Rex. In honor of Ahsoka, they even painted their helmets to look like her face.
The paint job's a little crude, but we think it gets the idea across.
So Ahsoka is at the peak of her powers here. She defeats Darth Maul, but then Order 66 happens. The clones turn on the Jedi because of a chip in their brains. Ahsoka is able to remove the control chip from Rex, but all of his other clone brothers die. After the Jedi purge, Ahsoka changes her name and hid in the Outer Rim for a while before she was found out by a Sith Inquisitor and had to fight him to the death. She then realized that she could never hide from her past, and Bail Organa recruited her to start forming the rebellion. She begins to organize separate rebel cells under the name Fulcrum. Eventually, she reveals herself to a rebel cell called Phoenix Squadron, which included another former Jedi Padawan, Kanan Jarrus, and his student Ezra Bridger. And she also reunited with Rex, who has joined the rebellion. Now remember, Ahsoka thinks that Anakin is dead along with all the other Jedi. She is shocked to discover that her master has become a Sith Lord.
Ahsoka.
Anakin.
She keeps Vader's true identity a secret, but eventually confronts him on a planet called Malachor. Vader is just about to defeat her in a duel when she is pulled into a mysterious portal by Ezra Bridger from the future. So this is weird, but stay with me. Ezra had gone to a Jedi temple and accessed a place between time and space, a kind of nexus of the Force called the World Between Worlds. This allowed him to reach backward in time and save Ahsoka. And he found her with the help of that Force spirit animal Morai. So all that stuff on Mortis was actually important. Ahsoka helps Ezra return to his own plane of reality, but afterwards she goes back into the World Between Worlds and obtains a much deeper knowledge of the Force than she had before. So the war goes on without her. Now the rebels of Phoenix Squadron fight against Grand Admiral Thrawn, an Imperial officer who is so badass. We'll talk about him more in a bit.
I will start my operations here and pull the rebels apart piece by piece.
So Ezra has a showdown with Thrawn. And here he uses the Force to control these whales that travel through hyperspace, called the Purgil. We briefly saw them in The Mandalorian. So Ezra uses the space whales to make himself and Thrawn disappear. So then the events of the original trilogy happen. Luke, Leia, Han, Yub-Nub, all that, Empire defeated. After the war ends, we see Sabine Wren, another member of Phoenix Squadron, meeting with AhsokaTtano. The two of them are preparing to go on a quest to the unknown regions of the galaxy to find Ezra Bridger and Grand Admiral Thrawn. And along the way, Ahsoka has met up with Grogu and Din Djarin. She fought this woman.
Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn?
And then she hung out with Luke at his new Jedi temple.
I'm an old friend of the family.
And that basically brings us up to speed with where AhsokaTtano is today. Okay, now back to the trailer, and more specifically these columns on the temple. So Ezra was able to save Ahsoka because he entered a gateway through a mural that was inside a Jedi temple. The circles on that mural are very similar to the ones that we see on the columns throughout these ruins. Maybe they're even a map to the gateways inside of the World Between Worlds. Remember, Ahsoka spent a lot of time in this place, which allowed her to observe any time and place in history, and also gave her a deeper connection to the Force. The center of the ruins show a large circle, and these are often at the center of Jedi sites of power. The Jedi Council's chamber had a circle on the floor, as did the first Jedi temple with the mosaic of the Prime Jedi. And the layers of circles around it are also similar to the gateway in the World Between Worlds. Circles symbolize unity, they symbolize equality, sort of like the Knights of the Round Table. So if this was a Jedi temple, then the Empire would have destroyed it after Revenge of the Sith. As Vader and the Inquisitors were hunting Jedi, the military was also traveling throughout the galaxy to destroy Jedi outposts.
Hey, how did you find all those Jedi temples?
Anakin told them where they were.
Oh.
Right? Pretty mean. Now, notice the scorch marks on the ground, a way to symbolically show how the darkness of the Sith penetrated to the heart of the Jedi Order. Then Ahsoka does this cool spin move to get to the lower levels, which Michael Patton on Twitter pointed out she did in the Clone Wars final episode. Very cool. And then we get our first live-action look at Sabine Wren, played by Natasha Liu Bordizzo. Sabine is by far my favorite character in Rebels, and I think that she would have made a more compelling protagonist than Ezra did in that show. She was from a noble house on Mandalore, she was exiled, she was a brilliant artist and a gearhead, an all-around great character with a lot of depth and conflict. Here we see her kneeling next to her helmet. So, in the last episode of The Mandalorian, it was clarified that some Mandalorians blindly follow the Darksaber, while others, like Din Djarin, don't really care about the saber and believe that you shouldn't remove your helmet.
You do not cover your face. You are not Mandalorian.
And in the Clone Wars, we met another sect called the New Mandalorians who were pacifists.
What's this got to do with Sabine?
Well, okay, so Sabine's family removed their helmets, but they did not follow those strict warrior traditions of the Way. But when Sabine found the Darksaber in Rebels, she didn't seem to know what the heck it was. So I really don't know what she believes in or who she's praying to here. She might just be meditating in front of her helmet. Now, we do know that she places a lot of importance in her armor.
Ezra, the armor I wear is 500 years old. I reforged it to my liking, but the battles, the history, the blood, all lives within it.
And then we get a voiceover from a new character called Baylan, played by the great Ray Stevenson. You've seen Ray Stevenson before. He was this guy.
Who are you? What have you done with Swords?
He's previously played the Punisher, Titus Pullo in Rome, and Governor Scott in RRR. We can't show you any of his clips of Titus Pullo in Rome because everything he says in that show is filthy, filthy language.
Oh, filthy, filthy boy. No.
That's right, Scoots. So
burn them all. The end is nigh. That's enough, Scoots. Sorry.
Some days it gets really weird in here, guys.
Dude, now this is getting weird.
So Baylan says,
"This is a new beginning."
And in a meta way, he's talking about a new beginning for the cast of Rebels, which I'm sure Rebels fans are really excited about. A lot of parents are going to be texting their kids asking questions about who these people are. But he could also be talking about a new beginning because the Sith are gone. Later in the trailer, we see Baylan rocket an orange lightsaber, which I have some theories about I'm going to talk about in a little bit. He might be saying that the Sith have left a power vacuum in the galaxy for his sect to fill. And then we see a Lothcat. These are animals that are native to Lothal. Lothal is the homeworld of Ezra Bridgers, and it was at the center of the show Star Wars Rebels, and it's where Sabine Wren appears to be living. Next we see Ahsoka above the Jedi Temple again. Notice the hole in the ground, so it's after she went underneath, and she's facing off against droids with electro stabs. These are the same weapons that Grievous's guards used in Revenge of the Sith. Now these droids have a similar design to Grievous's guards, but with these rad new red helmets. Now the red helmets are interesting. It makes me think that if Ahsoka is exploring the unknown regions, maybe she's come across some Sith cult members like the arena full of ghost faces we saw in Rise of Skywalker. These guys are rocking weapons that are specifically meant to fight lightsabers. So whoever owns these droids, they're either relics from the Clone Wars, or they're prepared to face off against a new Jedi Order, or maybe they were built to fight the Sith and Sith Inquisitors. Baylan says,
"For some, war. For others, power."
Now the war he's talking about could be the Chiss, who are now looking to invade the greater parts of the galaxy, and those seeking power could refer to the New Republic, or to these orange blade wielding Force users. And then we get to see the live-action debut of Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera Syndulla. Lots to unpack here. She is flying the Phantom. Now the Phantom is a part of her larger ship, the Ghost, but it can break away like a pod or a shuttle. Hera is an accomplished pilot and one of the best in the Alliance fleet. She's trying to intercept a ship that's hauling something, and she's taking blaster fire from its turrets. In the cockpit, we see the back of her jacket with the symbol of the Ghost crew. That's the crew that were the main characters on Rebels. And hey, we also got a live-action Zeb in this season of The Mandalorian, so we might see the whole crew reunited live-action in this show. So Hera is a Twi'lek from planet Ryloth. Her father, Cam Syndulla, was a guerrilla leader during the Clone Wars, and when she was very little, she grew up learning to fight the Empire. So she's got revolution in her blood. When the series Rebels ended, it was revealed that she had had a child with Kanan that she named Jacen Syndulla. Jacen is also the name of Han and Leia's oldest son in the now non-canon Star Wars Legends novels, but we're going to talk about those novels in just a little bit. So after the events of Rebels, Hera went on to become a leader of Rebel Command. We see her working with Leia in the comic books, and her ship was at the Battle of Scarif in Rogue One, and she even pops up in Rise of Skywalker right here. Live-action Hera was also teased in Rogue One here. And Rogue One also gave us a live-action Chopper. That's the droid of the Ghost crew who returns in this trailer. Chopper was damaged years ago in a Clone Wars battle, and a very young Hera Syndulla repaired him and kept him ever since. And then we see Ivana Sakno as an unnamed character also wielding an orange saber. So I really hope that she and Baylan are a totally new sect of Force users that we have never seen before. So much of Star Wars now is recycling old things from the comics or animated shows, and I want to see new, original concepts. But she and Baylan could be part of the Knights of Ren.
Or that Chihuahua who screams at that cat.
And with these hands, I hold the fate of millions.
No. That's just Ren. The Knights of Ren were in The Rise of Skywalker, and they have a very interesting story in Star Wars canon. They're a group of mercenaries with very low-level Force sensitivity, and they use the dark side. So in between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, they worked for the criminal organization Crimson Dawn, who we saw in Solo. In fact, that organization was led by Kira, Emilia Clarke's character from Solo. Her goal was basically she was trying to get rid of the Sith. So the Knights of Ren eventually betrayed her so they could win the Emperor's favor. So, years later, Palpatine would use the Knights to help tempt Ben Solo away from the Jedi Order, so he became Kylo Ren, leader of the Knights of Ren. It is possible that Baylan and this apprentice character are members of these Knights, which would be a very cool way to further set up the unexplained aspects of the sequel trilogy. She's attacking the bridge of a New Republic ship. Notice the officer's uniform that's very similar to the one worn by Crix Madine in the original trilogy. And then we go to Lothal, where Sabine Wren is on a balcony looking out at the city beyond. Lothal was a mostly agrarian world with settlements separated by these these very long highways. To me, it looks like she is at the Lothal communications tower. This is where Ezra and the other rebels sent out a message to the galaxy announcing that they were rebelling against the Empire. And it's also one of the last places we saw her in Rebels, looking out at almost the exact same view. She was probably at the tower because she's trying to communicate with Ezra wherever he is. Now throughout the series, Ezra and Sabine grew close. He had a crush on her, and just when it seemed like she might return those feelings, he disappeared with space whales. She even gives his portrait a little caress in the last episode. When she reunites with Ahsoka, she says, "It's been a while." Yeah, her hair was this short at the end of Rebels. It has been a while. Now, it was implied at the end of the series the two of them were going off to find Ezra, but I guess they just hit dead ends and gave up. Notice Sabine's also wearing the emblem of Phoenix Squadron, her old Rebel crew, right here. This is Ahsoka's ship, the same one that she was flying at the end of Rebels. As she says, "Things have changed." We see a few Republic medium transports coming out of hyperspace. Those are the same kind of ships that we saw leaving Hoth in The Empire Strikes Back.
I started hearing whispers.
Now, as she says this, we see holograms of the leaders of the New Republic. The one on the end here is a Grand, and of course in the center is Mon Mothma, played once again by Genevieve O'Reilly. O'Reilly played Mon Mothma in Revenge of the Sith deleted scenes, but then revived the character in Rogue One, Andor, and she voiced her in Rebels. And notice she's got her Andor hairdo back, instead of the bob that she wore when she was leading the Rebel Alliance. This might be significant because it shows that she has returned to an antebellum mindset. She's decommissioned the military ships across the galaxy and allowed new threats to rise up.
Or they just wanted to use the same wig from Andor.
Or it's a wig thing, yeah. Notice, though, that Mon Mothma looks worried, and she should. Her inept leadership and complacency will allow the First Order to rise.
She won the war, but she could not win the peace.
And then Ahsoka lays down the big line
about Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire.
As we see him from behind, the Grand Admiral Thrawn. Okay, so very brief explainer on Thrawn. Like, super brief, because we're gonna make like a lot of videos about this guy. Thrawn is one of the Chiss from the unknown regions of the galaxy. He was always a brilliant military commander, but kind of an outsider among his own people. He left the Chiss to join the Empire, quickly rising to the rank of Grand Admiral. However, he did this to gauge the capabilities of the Empire's military to determine if they were a threat to the Chiss.
I lied.
One of Thrawn's main tactical strengths was his ability to understand his enemies. Oftentimes, he did this by studying their culture's artwork.
To defeat an enemy, you must know them. Their history, philosophy, art.
Thrawn first debuted in the brilliant Heir to the Empire trilogy, where he nearly resurrected the Empire 5 years after the Emperor's defeat. However, those novels are now non-canon, but they are still very great reads. The trilogy's author, Timothy Zahn, has written 2 more Thrawn trilogies, which I highly recommend. So the Heir to the Empire trilogy is why this line,
as heir to the Empire,
gave me chills. So the last time we saw Thrawn, Ezra was teleporting him into the unknown regions of space. I think he is either rebuilding the Empire, as the guy who is above Moff Gideon, or he has rejoined the Chiss. Now that the Empire is gone, the Chiss might want to take on a weakened New Republic. And if the New Republic wins this battle against the Chiss, it means that the unknown regions will be unoccupied and ready for the First Order or Palpatine's new Sith fleet to rise up. And then we see the deck of the same ship that he was just on, this time with the Magistrate, aka Morgan Elsbeth. The last time we saw her was here.
Where is your master? Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn?
Now, it is totally possible that the Magistrate escaped from this moment and then rejoined Thrawn, but it's also possible that what we're seeing here is a flashback of her and Thrawn on this ship. She probably served under Thrawn during his time in the Empire. But then again, Thrawn also recruited an Imperial officer named Eli Vanto to work for the Chiss. So maybe Elsbeth also went off to work for the Chiss. I mean, like, this is definitely not an Imperial ship that she is standing on. This is part of why I think the Chiss and not the Empire will be the overarching big bads of this entire story. Then we see Ahsoka and Baylan surrounded by stars on some kind of asteroid. Now, this is very similar to No Space. During the High Republic era, this is a floating rock that was the headquarters for the Nihil Pirates. Or this could be some kind of map room, similar to Obi-Wan when he showed Yoda his missing planet. But in a moment, we see a wider shot of them dueling where Ahsoka swings her back leg to a column to keep her balance, so she can spring forward and attack without being knocked onto her back foot. By the way, it's kind of embarrassing that the production crew left this light in the shot, right? Just like right there on a C-stand, couple halogens. Silly.
Idiots.
Now, this could also be a live-action version of the World Between Worlds, and maybe Ahsoka accessed this place at the temple at the start of the episode, but I doubt it. The World Between Worlds is this like vast, empty space, and I'm just not seeing it looking like this in live action. Hera gives a speech.
We have to prepare for the worst.
And she's flanked by a New Republic military officer and a Mon Calamari pilot. The briefing room looks very much like the one where Mon Mothma planned out the Death Star attack, especially this large hollow table they're standing in front of. I would bet that Hera was not in favor of the New Republic's plan to demilitarize demilitarized after the war, when they reduced their military ships by 90%. Hera grew up in war, and even now, when she's a mom, I think she would always be ready to fight whatever is threatening the New Republic. To underscore this, we then see the Ghost in a dogfight with that orange-sabered apprentice we saw earlier. And then, Star Wars hallway fights, the best. Balin cutting down New Republic red shirts, I love it. We hear,
"The Jedi fell a long time ago."
This is implying that the galaxy is now unprotected from threats because the Jedi are gone, both threats from Force users and other external forces like the Chiss. Followed by,
"There aren't many left,"
as Sabine looks at the holo of Ezra Bridger. So Ezra is going to end up being a key part of this show. After all, he was with Thrawn when he disappeared, so if Thrawn shows up, Ezra should be there too.
Hey, imagine if we see Ezra meet Luke.
Yeah, it would be cool, especially if the two of them just like get to hang out and catch up. Like, you knew Yoda? Oh my god, I saw Yoda in a vision. I fought Darth Vader. Oh my god, I defeated Darth Vader. He was my dad.
Oh, so much fun.
On the wall behind Sabine, we see a drawing of a Lothwolf. Now, these wolves are native to Lothal, and they are attuned to the Force. They guided Kanan to his destiny in the last season of Rebels.
What are you waiting for? Kanan?
And they also led Ezra through a portal that took him to the other side of the planet. Then we see Ahsoka fighting a guy with a double-bladed saber. The saber looks a lot like the 8th Brothers. He was one of the Sith Inquisitors, except this blade is more of the orangish red that we saw before. They're fighting in some kind of shipyard, and notice here to the left, that looks like a Clone Wars era Republic Venator-class starship. If she is in the unknown regions, maybe these people are taking old Clone warships and repurposing them to become a new fleet. Or maybe this is the very beginning of the First Order, or even Palpatine's big super-duper secret Sith fleet that he showed up in Rise of Skywalker. The text here calls her warrior, outcast, rebel, Jedi. Outcast because she was kicked out of the Jedi Order, and rebel because Ahsoka was one of the earliest leaders of the rebellion, recruited by Bail Organa shortly after the Clone Wars, and then she organized rebel cells like Phoenix Squadron. Again, we see her fighting modified Magna Guards like General Grievous's droids, and there's this interesting shot where she jumps off the bridge of a ship, or maybe it's a control tower. This is the same shipyard we saw her fighting in before. Notice the person on the left-hand side of the frame is running away. So this tells me that they are both trying to get to someone that's down below. It's just that Ahsoka can take the fast way because she's a Jedi. In fact, this might be Sabine Wren on her left. Notice her long hair. Then she lands in a hangar filled with engines, very similar to the one that Hera was trying to recover earlier in the trailer. Or, you never know, that might have been part of a super weapon. It does look vaguely like Death Star-ish. And then we end with,
"Perhaps it is time to begin again."
Now, this droid is a very exciting, very deep cut. His name is Hu Yang. He was an archivist droid who worked for the Jedi Order, and his primary function was to help younglings assemble their lightsabers.
The lightsaber is a Jedi's only true ally.
In the show, and here, he is voiced by David Tennant. We could presume that what he's talking about is the Jedi Order starting again. And again, it is heartbreaking to think of Luke being all hopeful in the Book of Boba Fett, knowing that it all leads to this. And just a reminder, everyone, check out Doomlings with the link below. It's a really fun card game. I think you're going to love it. Well, that's all the Easter eggs we found, but if you found any, let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash the bell so you get the alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.